Thanks for checking out this clip from the Athletes Only podcast. Don't forget to subscribe. It helps ensure that we can continue doing the podcast and speaking with amazing guests like this one. Now, here's Evan Thompson. Kind of along the lines of, becoming a football player and a golfer in college, I can imagine that recruiting process has got to be absolutely crazy. I know the coaches probably are looking, they either want you as a golfer or they either want you as a football player. Talk to me about, what that recruiting process was like for you as the only D1 football player and golfer, and what are like some piece of advice that you have for young athletes who are potentially trying to pursue two sports in college?
It was different, real different. I think that a lot of one of my biggest questions I get asked is how I get recruited for golf out of high school. But to be blatantly honest, I didn't get recruited for golf out of high school. That was when I started, and my scores weren't there. And now I do know, because obviously playing Division I golf, I do know what you need, what you need to shoot, do you know your grades, all that stuff. But I didn't get recruited for golf out of high school. I just pretty much got recruited for football and just walked on. But as far as Kennesaw State, that's kind of like where I reside the most, just because my experiences there, for 2 years were just like, an absolute blessing. I couldn't ask for what happened there to go better. So in regards to football and golf and like recruiting and stuff, I literally got offered for football, but my only caveat was I have to play on the golf team. So I had Florida State, Baylor, all that's like all these big time Division I schools, and they're like, well, we don't have a spot on the golf team for you. I was like, sorry, I'm a two-sport athlete. I'm going to try to play both. I'm going to try to fulfill my dream playing two sports at the Division I level. So, I think that Kennesaw State was like, hey, man, we have a full ride for you here at Kennesaw State for both football, and then you can have a spot on the golf team, and took that opportunity and just ran with it, man. And I think that my only advice with people is that go after your dreams 100%, because I think at the end of the day, don't let people tell you what you can and can't do. And at the end of the day, you never know what God has in store with you, and when you put your mind to it. So I think that so many kids count themselves out too early. So if you can just keep going and recognizing that, that the best is ahead, there's so much more possible. So.
Oh, for sure, man. For sure. I think there's a lot to be said for that. Kids kind of selling themselves short in college. Almost looking at golf and football then separately, I know you mentioned, hey, I do know what it takes. For all the athletes that are at home watching this today, what are a couple quick things, that you need to know in the football recruiting process and in the golf recruiting process?
That's a good question. I think football is all about your competition and your exposure. But also it's almost directly correlated to golf. So what I mean by that is football recruiting is the amount of great teams you play throughout your high school, the amount of camps, the amount of exposure you have, throughout, the summer. And ultimately, do you have the intangibles? Are you big? Are you fast? Can you tackle? Can you run? Do you have the stats? And on the other side with golf, the exposure. Are you playing the biggest AGAGAs? Are you playing the biggest state tournaments? Are you playing all those? And then what does your high school schedule look like? People always ask me, how do I get recruited for golf? I'm like, well, are you playing your biggest events? Are you dominating in the state? Are you dominating in the county? And then do you have good grades? Can coaches count on you to raise their team GPA? So I think all those come into effect. They're very similar. Obviously, they're two different sports, but at the end of the day, recruiting process is very, very similar.
I'm sure, and I think it goes really across all of college athletics. There's some intangibles that carry over sport to sport. A big topic I like to talk about on my channel is college recruiting, because it's really a topic that's so seldom covered on the internet. And it kind of seems to be like a black hole of like scam that's online. So I just want to clear things up for all athletes out there. And I appreciate the amazing explanation, Evan.